We will start Shabbos Daf Samach quite a few lines in, having completed the three answers to the stira about the rings. And we're going to start discussing a pin and what it's used for. Then we'll get to a Mishnah which discusses a number of different things which a man is not allowed to wear on Shabbos Midrabanan. And the rest of the daf will discuss the first item on the list, which is shoes with nails in them. The Gemara will discuss why you can't wear those shoes, why the decree was made, how limited the decree is, and then a number of different types of shoes with nails in them as to whether or not they qualify as being part of this decree, if the nails are added for strength, if they're added for design, how many nails could be added, other types of ways to make the shoe. These will all be discussed in the rest of the daf. From the beginning of the daf until the Mishnah, the Gemara tries to figure out what a pin is, which the Mishnah said that a woman is not allowed to carry on Shabbos Midrabanan. She's not allowed to wear it on Shabbos Midrabanan, which implies that Midrabanan she's allowed to. So the Gemara says, what is this thing? What is the pin for? Again, it's a needle without an eye. It's just a pin. So the Gemara will try a few explanations here. The Gemara says, this is what it's for. She winds her if she has stray hairs that are sticking out of her hair covering, she winds them around the pin and sticks the pin into the hat. That way she keeps them hidden. So Gemara says, so then she should be allowed to wear it on Shabbos. What's the problem? Any clothing article which she wouldn't take off because it would cause some sort of exposure, she's allowed to wear on Shabbos. Because the whole issue with wearing it on Shabbos is that she may come to take it off and show it to her friend. Just like she wouldn't take off a device called a virus, which holds up the stocking, so she wouldn't take this off either because it holds her hair in place. So Gemara says, okay, that's not what it is. What it really is sort of like a comb that she uses to part her hair. So Gemara says, well, then why would she be allowed to carry that on Shabbos? Why would she be allowed to wear that with her on Shabbos? It has no function. It's just she's taking it with her so she could use. So that would for sure be forbidden to carry. That should be also even midaraisa. So Gemara says the reason is because it's very nice. It has gold on the end, has a strip of gold, and therefore she can pin it to her clothing as an ornament, and then when she wants to, she can part her hair. We now begin the next Mishnah, which lists a number of items that a man is not allowed to wear on Shabbos. Up to now, we had discussed women's accessories. Now we talk about men's things. All these things are, again, us are only midrabanan, forbidden rabbinically. And we will list them in the Mishnah, and then the Gemara will describe each one and why it's forbidden. So the lists are as follows. First of all, habnail shoe. That's a shoe that the sides of the shoe are nailed to the sandal with nails that go straight down and then stick into the floor as spikes, like cleats. So he's not allowed to wear that on Shabbos. Gemara will explain why. That'll take up the rest of the daf. Now the Mishnah continues. He's not allowed to wear a single shoe unless he has a injury on one foot. The Gemara will say which foot, the one with or the one without the shoe. He's not allowed to wear tefillin. He can't wear a kameya. That's an amulet designed to ward off disease. He's not allowed to wear that unless it is proven to be effective. And he's not allowed to wear armor. That's the chest armor, the body armor, the helmet, the leg guards, any of these things he's not allowed to wear. And of course, they are only asur midrabanan. Now the Gemara, for the rest of the daf, will discuss the habnail shoe. And the Gemara will begin by asking, why is it forbidden? What's wrong with wearing a habnail shoe on Shabbos? The Gemara will say that there were three possible incidents which happened where they caused problems. And the Gemara will say it's because of that. Then the Gemara will ask, why shouldn't the Gzera then be extended past Shabbos? And then the Gemara will discuss the structure and how these shoes are made and what types are forbidden and what types aren't. So let's see what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, first of all, what's wrong with wearing a habnail shoe on Shabbos? The Gemara says, well, there was an incident that happened. There can be three different versions as to what the story happened with a common denominator. It was at the time of the anti-Semitic persecutions after the Bar Kokhba rebellion. It was run by the Emperor Hadrianus, and people were hiding. So story number one goes that the people were hiding in a cave, and they made a rule that people are allowed to enter the cave because then they can be careful that they're not being followed, but people can't leave the cave lest somebody see them come out and reveal the hiding place. Now what happened is that somebody who came into the cave was wearing these shoes. He was wearing habnail shoes, and his shoes were on reversed. And therefore his footprints looked like they led away from the cave instead of into the cave. When people discovered his footprints, they thought somebody left. And they got upset, and they entered a panic, and they kicked each other, and they fought, and ended up killing more of themselves than the enemy ever did. And this was because of these heavy spiked shoes that they were wearing, and therefore the Chacham said, you're not allowed to wear that on Shabbos. Now we have two other versions as to what happened. One is that they weren't hiding in a cave. They were hiding in a cave, but the problem wasn't the footprints leading away from the cave. The problem was that they heard a noise outside the cave, and that's what they thought that were the enemies that were attacking them, and they panicked and kicked each other to death. And the third version of the story is that they were actually sitting in a shul and they heard a noise, and again they kicked each other to death. So the Gemara asks, if this is the reason, so what's it to do with Shabbos? And then you should never be allowed to wear these shoes. The problem in all these three instances is that these shoes were lethal, and therefore we should forbid people from wearing the shoes ever, anytime, because they can kill each other by accident or if they're upset in a panic. So Gemara says, well, the incident happened on Shabbos, and therefore they only made a decree on Shabbos. So this sounds like it's a rule where we only make a decree exactly the way the problem occurred. Rashi explains it a bit more deeply. He says that the problem with wearing them on Shabbos is that it will remind us, it's not that we were afraid that this was going to happen again. It'll remind us of these terribly sad incidents, and we don't want to destroy our joy on Shabbos. So the Gemara asks, then what about Yom Tov? Yom Tov, you should be allowed to wear it. The decree, the story didn't happen on Yom Tov, it happened only on Shabbos. So therefore, the decree should be limited to Shabbos. The Isser should be limited to Shabbos, but I can prove to you that you're not allowed to wear these things on Yom Tov either. What's my proof? On Yom Tov, you're not allowed to send a gift to somebody unless he could use it on Yom Tov itself. And we have a Mishnah that says you're allowed to send clothing, whether they're sewn or not sewn, because you could always use it as a cushion, but you're not allowed to send a hobnail shoe, and you're not allowed to send an unsewn shoe. So you see that a hobnail shoe you're not allowed to wear on Yom Tov. Well, why not? The stories happen on Shabbos. So Gemara says, okay, so really the reason for the decree was we were afraid people were going to hurt each other. And therefore we forbade it anytime when there are big gatherings of people together. And people gather together when they can't work. Shabbos they don't work, so they gather. Yom Tov they also can't work, so they gather. And therefore we don't want these shoes to be around them. That's why we said you shouldn't wear it on Yom Tov either. So Gemara says, but then what do you mean? What about a fast day? On a fast day, everybody also is in shul for davening. So you should make it forbidden to wear them on a fast day either. So Gemara says, yeah, it's a combination of the two. We don't want to ruin people's joy, and we want a situation where there's a lot of people gathered together. That's where we make it usher. That's Shabbos and Yom Tov. You don't want to ruin their joy, and there's a lot of people gathered together. On a fast day, you're not worried about ruining anybody's joy by remembering these terrible incidents, and therefore it's not a problem. Okay, now the Gemara notes there's a machlokes how we apply gzeiras that are made because of a specific incident. One opinion, which fits with what we said so far, is that you apply it somewhat more broadly than what we have, than the original incident. But the opinion of Reb Chanina ben Akiva is that you apply it only in the exact situation that the story happened. That discussion is held over carrying paraduma water. Now, paraduma water becomes tameh very easily, and if it becomes tameh, then it's ruined. What happened was that people they transported paraduma water in a boat over the Jordan River, and then they found that there was a piece of a mace, a dead corpse in the boat, and then that the water all had to be thrown out. So they made a decree, you can't transport paraduma water in a boat over the Jordan River afterwards. That's what Rabbi Chanina, son of Akiva, said. Others said, no, you're not allowed to carry it over water. Right? They made a more general decree. So Gemara says, even according to Rabbi Chanina, son of Rabbi Akiva, who applies decrees very specifically to the type of incident in which it happened, would agree that this decree applies even on Yom Tov, not only on Shabbos. Why? Because Shabbos and Yom Tov are very similar. The only difference between them is that you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov. But the waters of the Jordan River is very different from other rivers. It's easily distinguishable, and therefore it's very different, and that's why he says that it doesn't apply to other types of rivers. Okay, now the Gemara gets into the specific halachos of these types of shoes. Okay, so the first halacha that the Gemara says is Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, who says that the sandal, the shoe with the nails, is only usher when the nails are put there to attach the upper part of the sandal to the lower, to the sole. They're sewn into place. The leather is sewn to the wooden sole, but you need nails to strengthen it, to make it stronger. That's where it's forbidden. But if the nails are just stuck there for decoration, not for attachment, then this shoe is permitted. They never asked for that. So now the Gemara wants to know, how many nails can a shoe have and still be considered a decoration? And at what point, number-wise, do we say that's not a decoration anymore? That's to actually connect the parts of the sandal together, the shoe. So Gemara says, Rav Yochanan says up to 5 nails, Rav Chanina said up to 7 nails. Where are these nails located if it's just for decoration? So according to Rav Yochanan, that it's 5 nails, you have 2 on each corner, right? On the outside of the foot, the inside of the foot, near the toes and near the heels. Those are the 4 corners. You also have 1 in the spot where the strap that ties the shoe on is connected. You want to make sure the strap doesn't detach from the sole. Okay, now if you have 7 nails, then you have 3 on each side, near the toe, near the heel, and in the middle, and plus 1 on the strap. So you see, you're always going to have an odd number of nails. Okay, so it's not to keep the strap on, I'm sorry, it's for decoration. All right, now, the Gemara has a kasha on Rav Yochanan who says that it's only 5 nails. We have a brisa. The brisa is talking about a shoe or a sandal that has uneven soles. And it says you can have up to 7 nails according to Rabbi Nosson. You can have up to 13 nails according to Rebbe. So you see 7 and 13, you see at least the opinion of 7. You see Rav Chanina's opinion, but Rav Yochanan who said 5 doesn't fit with anybody. So what it says, Rav Yochanan is going with Rav Nehorai in a different brisa. Rav Nehorai said you'll have up to 5, and now I'll have 7. So you see 3 opinions of Tanaim, you see 5, 7, and 13. Now, what's the halacha? So it says, Eifus said to Rabbi Bar Chana, the Talmidim of Rav Yochanan could have up to 5 nails, and we, or Talmidim of Rav Chanina, could have up to 7 nails. Now, Rav Huna asked Rav Ashi, you allowed to wear one with 5 nails? He said, even up to 7 nails. He said, what about 9? He said, not even 8. 7 and under is mutter, 8 and up is forbidden. The Gemara next quotes a number of questions that were asked about different types of shoes which have nails in them, but they're not exactly the type that were involved in those incidents that caused the decree. The Gemara wants to know if these are still forbidden, if Chazal's decree included these, or if it specifically included the ones in the story and not these. So first of all, the Gemara says that they asked Rav Ami, what if the guy sewed a soft leather shoe inside the sandal itself? So Rav Ami said it's mutter, and I don't know why. And Rav Ashi said, what do you mean you don't know why? The reason is very simple, because it's not like the shoe that was in the story. And therefore, they said that the decree doesn't apply to it. Next question was, what if he didn't use nails, he used staples, which are kind of like nails that are shaped like a ches, and the 2 points on the 2 legs staple through the sole. So Gemara says that's permitted. That's not like the shoe in the story. And Rasi, the son of Chanina, said specifically that you're allowed to. Next question. What if you covered the bottom of the sole with nails altogether? The entire thing is full of nails in order to keep the wooden sole from being in contact with the ground, because the ground can make it rot. So the Gemara says that it's mutter. Now the Gemara quotes a long brisa. The last case in the brisa is that if you covered the bottom with nails, it's okay, just like we said. But the Gemara is going to analyze all the different cases in the brisa, so let's quote the whole thing. Okay, so the brisa says a person is not allowed to wear a nailed shoe on a Shabbos. He's not allowed to use it to walk from house to house. He's not easy to walk even from one bed to another bed inside the house. He's allowed to carry it, though. It's not muktzah, because you could use it to cover things, or you could use it to put underneath the legs of the bed. So it's not muktzah. You don't have to worry about that. Now, Rav Elazar ben Rav Shimon says that it is muktzah. You're not allowed to use it at all. Muktzah wasn't the issue. The issue was that if you use it for other things, you may end up wearing it. Now, what if some of the nails have fallen out? So Gemara said that if the majority of the nails fell out, it's permitted. And the Gemara says if only 4 or 5 nails are left, it is permitted. The Gemara is going to ask if those 2 statements are contradictory. Next, the Gemara says Rebbe says even if it has up to 7 nails left, like we saw before. Okay. No, that wasn't Rebbe before. Now, if he covered the bottom of it with leather and he nailed it in, it's mutter. And if the nails were shaped like staples or like a bar or like a peg, then it's also permitted. And if he covered the bottom, this is what we needed. If he covered the bottom of it with nails to keep it off the ground, it's also permitted. Okay, so there we see proof to that halacha. Now the Gemara analyzes the different statements in the Bryce itself. First of all, we said if the nails fell out. What did we say? We said that if the majority of the nails fell out, it's permitted, and if 4 or 5 are left, it is permitted. So the Gemara asks, it's not the same thing. What if the majority fell out, but there's more than 4 or 5 left? It's a contradiction as to whether that is mutter or not. So Gemara says not a kasha. 2 different things. One is talking about where they actually fell out and they're missing, and one is talking about where they wore down and therefore they're no longer sticking out of the bottom of the sole. Now, if they fell out completely, so you don't know that they were there before, so you can't have more than 4 or 5, because then it looks like this is how it was made originally, and that's forbidden. So therefore, it's got to be only 4 or 5 left. If ever they're worn down, so you could tell that they were there, and they used to be longer, you could still see the worn down nails, and therefore, as long as the majority of them are gone, the majority of them are worn out, it's okay. Okay, now the Gemara asks, I don't understand you. You tell me 4 or 5 left is okay. If 5 left is okay, so then 4 left is okay. What do you need to say that for? The Gemara answers, it depends on the size. In a small shoe, 4 nails. In a big shoe, 5 nails. Next, the Gemara asks, how could Rebbe say that it's okay if it has up to 7 nails? Rebbe before said even up to 13 nails is all right. So Gemara said, well, in that brisa was referring to a shoe with an uneven sole. He needed to put extra nails in to keep the sole even. That's why he allowed up to 13. So Gemara says, well, hold on a second. If that's true, so then how could we ask a contradiction from that brisa against Rav Yochanan? Rav Yochanan had said 5 nails, and in that brisa we saw 2 opinions, 7 or 13. So we asked on him that doesn't fit. It's not a kasha anymore, because he said 5 nails. He was referring to a flat sole. If you have an uneven sole, you need extra nails. You're allowed to have 7 or 13, and he would agree with that. Now, next thing we saw in the brisa was that there's a machlok is whether or not you're allowed to use the shoe for other things. You're not allowed to wear it, or are you allowed to use it to cover things up or to protect the legs of a bed? So the Gemara says that the halacha is not like Rav Elazar bar Rav Shimon, who says you're allowed to. The halacha is like the Tanna Kama says you're not allowed to because you may. The other way. The halacha is not like Rav Elazar bar Rav Shimon, who says that you're not allowed to. The halacha is like the Tanna Kama, who says that you are allowed to. So the Gemara says, yeah, for sure. Obvious. Why do you have to say that? Rav Elazar ben Rav Shimon is just one person, and it's one against everybody else. The halacha is like everybody else. So the Gemara says very simple. You may have thought that Rav Elazar ben Shimon is right. His opinion makes a lot of sense. If you let people use the thing, they're going to end up wearing it. You got to make it mukta, and therefore the chiddush here is that even though he makes a lot of sense, it's not the halacha. Okay, now going back to the numbers of nails that are allowed, and it's still called nails for decoration, not to support the shoe. Rav Chia says, it's not for the fact that people made fun of me and they called me the guy from Bavel who allows everything, even though it's usher. So I would say that you're allowed to have even a lot of nails, and they're still called for decoration, because a real nailed shoe has many, many, many nails in it. Now, how many would he have allowed? So in Pompadisa they said 24, and in Surah they said 22. So Nachman Beitzler says, how are you going to remember which place said which? Simple. When he came from Pompadisa to Surah, he lost 2. That's how you know that it goes down from 24 to 22 from Pompadisa to Surah.